my friend. My name is Terry Petrovick, and for the past 25 years, I've been teaching, coaching, and training people how to create a better quality of life, primarily through the network marketing profession and being an entrepreneur. Today, I've created a quality of life that, most people could only really dream about, but it hasn't always been that way for me. My road has had some ups and downs, and I really believe as we move through life, as we face our challenges, we all need from time to time to reach out to people, to maybe expose ourselves to different types of thinking, different philosophies, and different ways of being. If you're in a network marketing company or home-based business, the question I might ask you is, why is it that some people in your company have more success than you? What are they doing, and how are they showing up in different ways than you? Well, my intention is to help you overcome any of those obstacles that you have. And I've created a series, and I call this series Prosperity and the Mentors. And I've collected some of the best people, just amazing, high quality people, wildly successful, who've created the quality of life that you and I would absolutely just love to be part of. My intention is to kind of go behind the curtain so that you can hear their stories, where they came from, how they handled with the struggles of life, which we all have them, and how they show up to create prosperity and success in their life. Now, my guest today is the co-founder of the Geneva Group, which is a network of business people that came together to help each other live their highest life in every part of their life, especially their businesses. She is the author of the award-winning book, Revolutionary Agreements, A Personal Path to Peace on Earth. She is a master, and she's a master at sharing profound truths in a simple and yet practical way. She has incredible insights and real-life stories that reach deep into our hearts so that we can break through some of those challenges that we have. I can tell you this. My wife, Amy, and I read Revolutionary Agreements many, many years ago. I think it was 2005, and absolutely changed our philosophy on who we are and how we show up. Her and her husband, Glenn, I believe, are some of the few true global visionaries, and they're really working hard to make the world a better place. Interesting story. Amy and I were going on a walk not too long ago. And Amy looked at me and she says, the person that I admire most in the world is Marian, and that's who I want to be when I grow up. That's right. My guest today is the wonderful Marian Head. Marian, thanks so much for being here.
Wow. I'm delighted to be here, and I love your wife. Woo, we are one.
Yeah, I love her too, and she is a big fan. And it's really how you show up and just the love, I think, that you exude in all your conversations. So let's take our listeners and viewers and readers, Marian, to kind of get to know you. And, you've created a quality of life that, is absolutely amazing. What was your journey like, and where'd you come from, and how'd you get there?
Well, I grew up on an egg farm in New Jersey. And I grew up, I was very fortunate because my parents were both home on the farm, and my grandparents had a farm down the road. I had another set of grandparents upstairs. I grew up in a community, and my whole life has been really about community. When I went to the university, I stayed in that house until I went to the University of Maryland. I lived in a dormitory. And that was a community. And everything I did was a community. But my inner journey was that the first half of my life, I showed up to be what I thought everybody expected of me. That was stressful. It just was. And then the second half of my life, I started discovering myself. And I'm still discovering myself. Because it's a never-ending process. That's what life is for, is self-discovery and discovering who I am in relationship to you and to the people who are listening to me and others. And that's my joy also. So I wound up in Washington, D.C. for 15 years. I was in the profession of professional training, and I got involved in professional associations. I became a speaker. I met my second husband. We'll just skip the first one. That was practice. We'll talk about practice too, Terry. I want to make sure to get back to the word practice. I met my second husband in Montreal at an international conference. We were both speakers on the platform, and we just connected. We were meant to be together, and it's now been almost 35 years. He's my biggest fan, bigger than Amy, I think. And, it's important to have somebody to support you. When I did network marketing, which was one of my businesses and my most financially successful business, he was very supportive. He didn't join me initially. However, I did do it with a friend, with a girlfriend who she and I will be celebrating our 50th friendship year next year.
Wow.
So, yeah. So that's kind of the story. First half, like, how can I be good enough to my teachers, my parents, professionally? I worked really hard. And the second half has been more about who am I? And there was something I read in a book that was very helpful during my transition time, which was, would you rather have hundreds of people who like you for who you pretend to be, or a few who love you for who you are?
Wow. I think a lot of people struggle with that one. And, one of the things I would ask you is, how do you have that courage? I do think it takes courage to be your true authentic self and not worry about the judgment that family, friends, or whatever are going to impose on you.
Well, it is a practice, actually. And I was very fortunate when I first moved to Boulder from Washington, D.C., which was quite a culture shock, to Glenn, my husband, was the president then of something called the Win-Win Business Forum, which was a pretty new idea in those days, where everybody wins, your vendors, your employees, the company is profitable. And every week they had speakers, and out of that, and out of a personal growth course that we all did together, he invited some key business people to our home. And the question is still, how can we support one another to live our highest values in all aspects of our lives, and especially at work, where we spend most of our time? We came up with a set of agreements at that first gathering to guide us on that path. And Terry, that has made a huge difference in my life. But it's not like just having agreements on paper helps. It's a practice. So one of the agreements is I agree to speak my truth with compassion, which means being honest. With compassion, which means with the well-being of myself and the other in mind at that time. It's a practice. It's not something that comes easily. It's much easier to just blame somebody and justify why I did what I did. But to be really honest and compassionate with myself and with others, that's a big one. And then another agreement is I agree to respect our differences. And here's one of the key ones. I agree to see the best in myself and others. So that addresses what you just asked. That's a huge practice.
Yeah, I think if everybody could show up and be true to those, that would be life-changing for sure.
Yeah, and they're behind me, by the way. I don't know if you can read them.
I can't see it, but I have it on my wall, actually. in that room over there.
Alrighty.
All of these years, it's been there. Yeah, we absolutely love them. If you could put a definition on prosperity, Marian, what would that be for you?
Well, what comes to me in the moment is having enough to be really generous.
Generous how?
Well, in every way, with our time and our money and our talents, in every way. I mean, generosity it's such a gift to the person who's generous to be generous. And of course, other people get the gifts of your generosity. So I would say prosperity is to, and at different times in our lives, it might be time, that I can generously give of my time, or I can generously give of my talents. And then other times it may be money. But, when we're starting out and we have yet to build the cash flow and build the assets, we can give up our time and talents. We can give up our love.
Mm-hmm.
That's free, and it feels good.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Do you have any rituals or routines that you do every morning or every evening, Marian?
Yes, I do. And because I move around a lot, I live in Kauai now, but we travel. We spend the summers in Colorado near our youngest son, and we spend the fall in Florida near my oldest mom, one of the oldest people in the United States. She's over 100. Let's just say that.
Yeah, you don't want to give away your age.
Depending on, right. No, she wouldn't like that. Depending on where I am, let's pick Hawaii because I'm there at least 6 months of the year. And I do something similar everywhere else. So I get up early. I'm a 9 to 5 girl, but not the 9 to 5 that most people think of. I'm asleep at 9, 10 at the latest, and I'm up at 5. So I get up at 5 and I meditate. I then get on my mat and stretch and do my core exercises so that I never throw my back out again, which I did about 8 years ago. And then I do my Tai Chi or Baji. It's a Tao movement. It's another form of meditation, really, but it's in movement.
Mm-hmm.
And that might have to wait because if the sun is about to rise, I get outside. I like to get outside about 30 minutes before the sun rises, and I take photos of the sunrise, and I walk or I bike ride or I hike. So when I'm in Hawaii, the last time I was there for 6 months, and I missed only 2 days of the sunrise.
Wow.
It's very important for me. There's something that inspires me about watching the sunrise. And it inspires me to see people lined up at the ocean front taking pictures. It's like, yes, take those pictures home with you because so many people can't see the sunrise with all the buildings. So that opens my heart. And so that's my morning ritual. And then I go home and I create something nutritious to eat, and then I start my day.
That's wonderful. Yeah, there's something special about the morning coming alive and being part of that experience. I have pine trees, so I don't have an ocean. But many mornings I get out there and have my cup of coffee, and I just go from the darkness to the glistening grass and the morning coming alive. And it's something magical about that for sure.
Yes.
Is there a book, Marian, or a gift or an item that over the years you were touched by that you find yourself giving to other people?
Oh, yes. Several, actually. The one that may be the most important to me in the last 10 years is called Do You Quantum Think?
Do You Quantum Think?
Do You Quantum Think? And the subtitle is New Thinking That Will Rock Your World. And it will. That's by Diane Collins. Diane with 2 N's. And it's about how we create our reality. And because it's got plenty of engagement in it, there's a practice. Again, I'm going to talk about practice. And I want to say this now because I don't want to forget it, Terry, that when I was doing my network marketing business, it was the height of my personal growth because I heard personal growth equals financial success in network marketing. So I did a lot of personal growth. And one of the motivational speakers one day said, I don't ever fail because I consider every interaction I have practice. And it's like, oh, well, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Oh, that was a great practice. This is what I learned. I can apply it next time. Oh, that was a good practice. It just took the pressure off. Yeah, I like that. So
Yeah.
practicing. Wow, that's kind of what life is about to me. So Do You Quantum Think is my most recent giveaway. And it's a big book, but it is worth it. And I've become good friends with the author. And we hired her husband actually to coach our network marketing team for 3 years. So I really got it.
Mm-hmm.
So Think and Grow Rich, that's a classic. And that we used to give to everybody. I also love the book Go Giver, and partly because I love the author of the Go Giver, both of them. John David Mann is one of them, and he was the editor for my first book, Revolutionary Agreements. And he is a magnificent writer. I love the parable in Go Giver, and it's all about giving. So there's that generosity again. It's all about giving. And by the way, if you give, you get to get too.
That's right.
Yeah. So those are the 3 that come to my mind right now, in addition to my own books, of course, which I give away often.
Yeah. Well, they're absolutely great. Well, I've got some reading to do, that's for sure. Over the last 6 months, has there been a purchase, Marian, for $100 or less that has had a positive impact on your life in some way?
Yes. One is within the last 6 months, and the other one might be a little longer than that, but might be worth telling you about.
Okay.
So in the last 6 months, I bought a magic bullet. Now that's one of those it makes smoothies. Really
a mini vitamin, right?
And I bought one that's 900 watts. Now, the reason that it changed my life is that every morning when I made my smoothie, when I'm on the road, I had to deal with the blenders that weren't my Vitamix. And the last one especially it was just not a good one. I would turn it on and the whole blender would turn like dance around, and it didn't do hardly anything inside. So giving myself permission to go and buy something that I would enjoy was, it's a relatively new thing for me, Terry, but it's an important one. And that's why I want to tell you the other story about what I bought too.
Okay, what was the other one?
Toilet paper. Now, I actually wrote a blog about this called Prosperity Begins in the Bathroom. And I'll tell you why. So last fall, when we were in Florida, we moved into a condo for about 6 weeks, I think. And I checked to see what kind of supplies we need. And I was going to need some additional toilet paper. So I went to the store and I looked at the choices, and I always buy the same toilet paper. So that was not negotiable. But I'm looking like, what's the least expensive one? There's the big rolls, the small rolls, the lots of rolls, the little. And I tried to figure out what's the absolute smallest rolls that I could get away with, because we were not going to be there that long. I was going to need maybe a couple of weeks worth. So I bought that. And this is the way I've been my whole life until now, until I bought the magic bullet. And so what happened was, well, we're getting towards like 3 weeks left, whatever, and I'm running out of toilet paper. Every day I'm in the bathroom going, I don't think it's going to make it. And I'm like sweating and I'm worried about it. So one day I said, heck with this. And I went to the store and I bought the big rolls. I bought plenty, and I got generous. I left them for the next people. And that actually, every day that after I bought those big ones, I felt so good, and things started happening, Terry. We got checks in the mail that we hadn't expected. We got opportunities for giving talks and speeches and things that would bring in money. Something that was owed to us for a long time showed up. It was pretty magical. All because I stopped being so stingy with myself.
I think I'll always remember that story.
Good. And when you're feeling a little stingy with yourself, go get whatever you want. Look, this magic bullet was under $100, and it's made my life so much easier, and I'm not all tense. And so I'm open and I can be more creative.
I love it. I love it. All right, let's shift a little bit more to business success and the human side of life. Um, as you look at your journey, think back to a time perhaps when you struggled with being prosperous or being abundant in your thinking. And when you worked your way through that, what was that process like? What did you do? Can you share anything there?
Hmm. I know that there were times when I felt scared, when I had fear about not having enough. But it didn't pervade my life. It just kind of came and went. And then I would use my journal and I would write about it and I'd kind of get it out of my system. Sometimes I was blaming other people for my situation, and that didn't help. It didn't help to judge somebody else. Even when I was starting the network marketing business with my friend, and we would get our checks, and she would say, "Wow, look what we got," and I'd go, "Is that all?" It's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of who I was. That I saw, like I wasn't good enough yet.
Hmm.
That's all. But she would be so excited. So it's not the truth. Oh, and one of the things I've learned recently that's been really helpful to me is I've gotten rid of the idea that there's a truth with a capital T. That's going to offend some people. But for me, it's just made me relax to know that there are as many truths as there are people with perspectives.
Hmm.
And so it's interesting to hear other people's perspectives. So to answer your question, it helped for me to get into a routine of doing what works. Yeah, and that's kind of become the rest of my life, is to look at what works and do that. Is that
Going back to
helpful?
being true to yourself, right?
Yeah, well, yes. And it was perplexing, Terry, because somehow I felt like there was magic for me. I could try any system and make it work for me, but it didn't necessarily work for my team. And that's where I had the greatest struggle. And possibly because I was taking responsibility for my team's how my team was doing. That
Hmm.
became an issue for me that I needed to overcome.
Hmm. Has there been a failure or maybe a mistake that set you up for later success, Marian?
Hmm. Well, I'm thinking about the time that I felt I was a failure as a leader because not everybody was with me up at the top. It's like, how did that happen? What I learned from that is that, what I learned from that is how important it is to know that we can create our own success. It happened over a period of time. First, it was sitting in a room with a trainer who said, how many people feel responsible for their team's success? My arm went up. And then, how many people feel that your success is because of your upline? And it was like, my upline really helped me. And she was always there when I called, and she was my sponsor. She was available, but no, it wasn't her. I did it. And so that was a wake-up call for me. And then I began looking at what makes someone successful. Well, we make our own success. It takes confidence in ourselves. It really takes believing that we can do it. If we don't think we can do it, then we're not going to be able to. So to get on the track, and Gail and I, my friend Gail and I, we committed to doing it for a year. And then we said, after a year, we'll have a little retreat and we'll say, how did it go? And we'll decide if we're going to keep going. And if we had not made that commitment, at 6 months, we would have said, as business people, we would have said, man, this is slow going. But at 9 months, things started looking exponential. And by 18 months, we were at 5 figures a month. So, it's really important to be committed. And I think for me, it helped to commit to a certain period of time. And after that first year, we then committed to 5 more years. This is good. Let's do this for 5 more years.
I love it. You talked a little bit earlier about meditation. Does visualization play into your world in any way?
Well, I love visualization. In fact, here's something some people might call a failure and how visualization helped me. At my very first paid speech in 1980 at the Lowe's Anatole, I passed out on the stage cold.
Oh my gosh.
Well, it was definitely my most embarrassing moment. But I can't call it a failure because I had another talk in 2 weeks. Well, first of all, you can ask me if you want to what happened after that. Otherwise, I won't tell you. But I had another talk in 2 weeks. And I had to do something about this fear that I had of speaking. So I got some help from somebody really brilliant. And she taught me how to do what she called kinesthetic rehearsals. And this is a visualization. She said, imagine you were going into your boss's office asking for a raise, but you didn't think you were going to get it. You'd kind of look like this, and well, what do you think? And you know what? You're not going to get it. So what if you go in and you think you are going to get it, and you go, hi, it's great to see you today, and I'm feeling really good, and I want to talk to you about this. She said, but don't even do that. Go all the way to, hey, how's it going today? How's your wife? How are your kids? I'm so loving being here. And I think it's time, whatever. And just go like crazy all the way. So in terms of audiences, that means instead of worrying about, are they going to like me? Am I going to remember what I'm going to say? I focus on this audience who is getting so much from my presence, whatever, because I love them and because audiences want people to succeed. So, I just started picturing the audience being like my cheerleaders. And that's visualization. Mm-hmm. And so I use it sometimes when I meditate. I do guided imagery. Sometimes I plug into YouTube videos. Well, not videos because I'm just listening, but guided meditations can be very helpful. And sometimes I'm just quiet. Sometimes I play music. I mix it up.
I love it. If someone is financially stuck, maybe they think they're too old, maybe they think their best years have gone by, or they've tried to have success in a business, whether it be network marketing company or real estate or a coaching business or anything like that, and they just can't break out. Do you have any suggestions or tips for them?
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind when you said maybe they're too old is for them to find somebody old who is still rocking and watch them because it's so inspiring. I have a friend who is 88, almost 89 in December. And she did last year a full year program on Zoom every single week. Wow. And had tremendous energy. And she's having a reunion of all those people, I think in another week or two, at a live event. She still travels. She's passionate about her work. She's got tremendous energy. So I can no longer say I'm too old for anything. So that's one. And then secondly, when you said, if they're stuck financially and they don't feel like they can do something because they're older also, right. I would say, and this doesn't matter about age, find somebody who's doing what you love to do really well. Find somebody who's doing really well, doing what you would love to do. And grab on. follow that person. Ask them maybe to be your mentor. That's how I began in professional training. I just somehow landed in a training job in the computer world. I didn't even know anything about computers. I was in elementary school. I had graduated with an elementary school degree, and I had wound up somehow in this corporation teaching people how to use computers. And I liked it, but I didn't even know what it was. What do you call this thing, this teaching adults? So I started asking around, and I wound up calling what I had heard was the best training center in the country, maybe the world, which was Xerox in those days. And I asked to talk to their training director, and I said, this is what I'm doing. I like it. I want to know more about it. I want to know, what would I have to do? No, at first I just said, would you be my mentor? And he invited me to the Xerox Learning Center, where he spent maybe 20, 30 minutes with me. And I said, what would I need to do if I wanted to work here at the best of the best? And he laid out a plan that I followed. There's a key, Terry. Followed. We've all heard the fortune is in the follow-up. So we have to follow up. And so I did. I went to graduate school where he suggested. I kept my job. I did all the things that he suggested. And not too many years later, I was the chairwoman of an international awards committee for outstanding instructional design. And he was on my team.
Wow. I love
Yay.
it.
Me
That's
too.
awesome.
And I love him. He was fabulous.
Great story.
Yeah, I don't know if I answered your question. I'm so excited.
Well, yeah. I mean, what I heard is, what I heard really was two things. One, find something that you love to do. And I think a lot of people settle. And because they settle, they never show up as their authentic self and really grab onto it, because they're just hanging on. And I think if people can really find the things that they truly love, and it's kind of like you talked about earlier, step into your true self, doors open up and opportunities open up. I do know that there's a lot of people out there who maybe feel alone, overwhelmed by what's in front of them. Maybe they've lost a job or a life partner. Financial abundance is gone, and their future looks dim. And what I'm hearing you say is that the key to getting out of that is to look for the light that fires you up. Is that close?
Yeah, and I would say to once you know that you are a creative being, to create. So rather than worrying, I have a little story about worrying I'll share. Rather than worrying, put that energy into, what do I choose? What do I choose to create? What would I love to do? It doesn't have to be the end. It's just the next thing. What do I love to do? And once that's clearer, then how can I monetize that? And talk to people about it. How can I monetize this? This is something I would love to do. Now about worrying, because worrying is such a drain. We saw a movie, my husband and I, called The Bridge, something with a bridge. But it was about this this spy that was shot down. It's a true story, Gary Powell, who was going to be exchanged with a Russian spy. So he was our U-2 pilot in Russia. We had their Russian spy in the United States. And the lawyer for the Russian guy would ask him occasionally, maybe 3 times through the movie, are you worried about going into an American prison with people knowing who you are? And he would say, well, would it help? Would it help to worry? And then the same thing happened when he was crossing the bridge back into Russia. He says, aren't you worried that they think that you've given away the secrets? And he would say the same thing. Well, would it help? So my husband has this, he just took this. And every time I would say something like, well, I'm really worried about, he said, does it help? Which of course makes me laugh. And that's the thing we need the most when we're worried, is laughing, breaking out of that state of worry, and then going, what do I want to create? And whether it's journaling, if you're alone, journal, what do I want to create? What can I create? What are my talents? What are the best? And one of the agreements is I agree to see the best in myself and others. What's the best in me? What is the best about me? Make a list, 10 things at least. So do the personal growth work. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you are very good at asking questions that put you in a positive direction as opposed to a negative direction. And I think a lot of the programming that people experience when they ask questions, it doesn't serve them, and it goes then takes them down a negative path as opposed to a positive. So is it the personal development that you've done over the years that enables you to ask those positive questions?
Yes, and it's practice. It's practice. Even in network marketing is where I learned to ask questions, because if I tell,
right,
I may not be telling somebody who cares. Right. So it's like, ask questions. Do you care about this? How's your health? How's your family? What do you like to do? My favorite question is, what do you enjoy doing? I don't ask people, what do you do anymore? I say, what do you enjoy doing? They go, oh, what do I enjoy doing? It's much more interesting.
For sure. And yeah, I can see that they would talk on and on about that.
And then, Terry, I just want to say this because of our political climate, that when people get into this fighting place, or the drama, the high drama in our country right now, it's like the American soap opera, that there's a question to help us out of it, which is, what is mine to do? That's big. What is mine to do? So how do I learn? I learn because maybe I read that somewhere. Maybe somebody said that to me. Now I've said it to you and to this audience. What is mine to do? It's a great way to get back on the creative track.
I love it. Let's say somebody, Marian, is into the personal development stuff, and they actually do meditation sometimes, and they do visualization sometimes, and they go to an event. Maybe they see you speak, maybe they go to their company event, and they're all fired up and excited. And then a week or two goes by, and then they lose that excitement. Do you have any suggestions or tips where somebody could keep that excitement or vision for possibility that got them so excited?
Yeah, well, I can tell you what I did. It may be different for different people. When I was the most successful financially during my network marketing days, and I've always been successful, just this was the big money success also. I wasn't meditating then. I couldn't be quiet enough to meditate. I couldn't get still enough to meditate. Although I did do my Tai Chi practice then. And so that was a form of meditation. And I did walk in nature. That was very, very important to me. But what I did every day for the first 2 years that I was in network marketing, and pretty much every day, is when I did my morning walks, I would put the headset in, whatever the headsets looked like then. and I would listen to probably cassette tapes of motivational speakers who I had never heard of before. I just, through the network marketing industry, we learned about different speakers, or I was at an event listening to a motivational speaker, and I would plug them in. Wow, Terry, that made a difference to have that in my head, getting into my brain all the time about, you are great, you can do it, I did it, let me tell you my story, all of that. Wow, for 2 years I did that. And I'm certain that helped me achieve what I achieved.
So it's working to reprogram your thinking, if you will.
Yes, and to do it, for me, being in nature is essential. So I did it while I was in nature. It was probably a double whammy.
Yeah, there you go. I love it. All right, let me ask you a couple of fun questions. We'll wrap this up. Let's say, Marian, you had the ability to send everybody a text message tomorrow morning about prosperity and abundance, what would that message say for you?
One message about prosperity and abundance. Well, I think what I would say is you are already prosperous. You are already prosperous. You know, write down 5 things you have in your life that you can link to living an abundant life. It doesn't have to be money.
Right. Yep, I agree 100%. You know, I think if we all just took time to be more grateful and to walk in that place, to start in that place, and when we feel bad about ourselves, to go back to that place, everything will change.
So there it is. There's the 3rd pillar, what I call the 3 pillars of a good life. The 3rd pillar is gratitude.
There you go.
And I have 4 agreements in that pillar, and I use them. Oh, and I want to invite people to use them. If they want to, they can download a small, like, you can print it off your printer size of this poster, if they'd like, at revolutionaryagreements.com.
Awesome. Let's say in the last 5 years, I see you as a person, Marian, who really has it all. I mean, your head's on right. You are surrounded by wonderful people. You've got a great lifestyle. But has there been maybe something that you shifted or tweaked or enhanced in the last 5 years to help you up your game just a little bit?
Definitely. Definitely, because it never stops. There's a lot of things, actually, Terry. Let's see, I'm trying to remember her name. Brene. Anyway, there's somebody, a motivational speaker out there who I heard, somebody sent me an email. It had a link to a YouTube video. Brene Brown. She has maybe it's a TED Talk. And it was about imperfection. Yeah. So being as I spent a lot of years of my life trying to be perfect, you know, like the paycheck, like, is that all? It's not perfect enough. So she started, I don't know if she started it, but she forwarded a fad to be imperfect. And that gave me permission to be imperfect. So that meant I didn't have to show up on time anymore. Ha ha ha. You know, I spent my whole life stressing about being on time. And I do think it's respectful to be on time. Don't get me wrong. But, oh well, you know, I'm not perfect. And everything else about my life and everything else about me, I am who I am. I am who I am in this moment. I have a lot of love for humanity. That's my best quality. And everything else, you know, is unfolding and in its imperfection or perfection.
That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. Is there an unusual habit or thing that you love?
Well,
besides your magic bullet.
My magic, and besides my sunrises, you know, having taken pictures of sunrises, you know, every day. You know, I can't think of one right now outside of those.
That's okay.
I do Tai Chi every day. That's not everybody does that, but everybody has their own little thing.
Right. Are there any mantras that you've used over the years that keep you on track onto who you want to be?
Oh, wow. Well, I can give you my current one.
Okay.
But it's kind of some people might think of it as a cop-out. But that's because I'm on sabbatical right now. Or a spiritual retreat, whatever you want to call it. So here's my current mantra. Grace is the great organizer. Mm-hmm. Grace by whatever name, God, universe, spirit, whatever name you call. So what that did for me, and this is very recent. I have another mantra I'll give you. This one's very recent, maybe 2 months old. It's on my calendar. Every day when I turn my calendar on, it's there. Grace is the great organizer. I am very organized. I can organize most anything. But there's a certain stress in feeling like I am the organizer. and I have to do it if it's going to get done. This used to be what I believed. If it's going to get done or done well, I have to do it. Well, that's baloney now. Now I know grace is the great organizer. And as soon as I let go of feeling like I have to do it, and I kept proving it, because whatever we think, we keep proving over and over. Like, see, I had to do it. I wasn't there and it didn't get done. Well, once I know grace is the great organizer, I'm seeing all the magic because I'm proving that now. Wow, look at that. Look what showed up today. So that's my current mantra. The one before that was, today is the best day of my life.
I love that.
Whew. And my husband and I would say it to each other, and we still do. And partly it's because it's the only day. So it is the best.
You have to appreciate the moment.
We're not here yet.
Yeah. Well, I want to say thank you so much, Marian, for spending so much time. You are just an amazing person. I just love you, and I love your energy and what you're bringing to the planet and how you equip and inspire people. And just want to say thank you for that. So if somebody would love to connect with you, Marian, what's the best way for them to do that?
Oh, I think the website, just if you remember Revolutionary Agreements, it's revolutionaryagreements.com. There's a contact place on there, which I'd be delighted to hear from you. Help yourself to a free poster download, and check out the bookstore while you're there too. And there's a bigger poster in the bookstore if you really like the poster. Not as big as this banner.
Yeah, we love our poster, no question about that. Yeah. Well, again, thank you so much, Marian, for spending some time with us. And my friend, hopefully you got some value out of our conversation today. Go to revolutionaryagreements.com, get the poster, grab our book. You'll be so happy that how it's going to impact your life and the people around you. I just want to say thank you for you being you. And if you'd like to get access to this and other interviews that we've done, just go to terrypetrovick.com/mentors. Again, thank you for being you. Remember this, my friends, you have a choice. Make it a better than terrific day and a prosperous one, because you absolutely deserve it. Until next time, bye-bye for now.